Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 9th public session of the Board of Commissioners, Haverford Township. It is Monday, May 8th, 2017. The board did meet in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss a few legal matters. I will ask everyone to please, first will we take a roll call?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Here.
Mr. McCluskey.
Here.
Mr. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Holmes is not here yet. Mr. McGarity.
Here.
Mr. Wexler.
Here.
Mr. Oliva.
Here.
And Mr. Connell.
Here. And for those that can, if you would please rise for our opening prayer by Sister Kay Joy from the St. Raphael Retreat Home.
Prayer for the common good of our township, of our common lives, and of earth, our common home. Let us allow ourselves now to be composed by God's presence. Great God, this evening we acknowledge with amazement and gratitude that you are here. We are here, and you are here. That already is a powerful meeting in progress. Thank you. Assist our business this night. Clear our brains, busy with our own ideas, so that we can listen. Clear our minds to pursue logic for the common good. Clear our vision for decisions based on the inclusion of all in our township, with attention to goals we seek, never skirting our dream for a better world, for without a compassionate eye for the larger world, little will come of lasting good for our township. Help us to build on our education and common sense bestowed to steward well this common home of ours. We pray in the name of all that is good, in your name, great God, for our one nation under you, with liberty and justice for all, beginning here in Haverford Township. Amen? Amen. And as I just saw the agenda, God bless and protect our law enforcement personnel. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Sister. Chief?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, first on the, or second on the agenda tonight are proclamations. Commissioner Lewis, if you would.
Commissioner Oliva is going to join me.
Okay, Mr. Oliva.
Great pleasure for me tonight to recognize a outstanding young gentleman who I've had a chance to know for the last, 10 or 12 years, who did us all proud by winning the gold medal at the Special Olympics back in December. So, David, could you come forward with your mother? I guess Callie's here as well. I'd like to read this proclamation into the record. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community. And whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud David Welsh, who competed in figure skating at the 2017 Pennsylvania Special Olympics Championship. David brought home a gold medal. Whereas continuing with tradition, hundreds of athletes, coaches, families, and friends representing all corners of Pennsylvania participated in Pennsylvania Special Olympics' third largest statewide event, the Winter Games. During the course of the event, more than 350 athletes and 130 coaches participated in 3 days of exciting winter sports, competing in alpine and cross-country skiing, speed skating, snowshoeing, and individual skills events. Weeks of hard work, dedication, and training was rewarded as athletes were cheered on and supported during competition by more than 1,200 volunteers. And whereas David Welsh has competed successfully and won a gold medal in other Special Olympic Games over the past decade in volleyball, basketball, and softball, demonstrating his personal skills and commitment. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that said Board of Commissioners hereby congratulates David for your outstanding dedication and performance. Our blessings go with you as you face new opportunities and challenges. Proclaim this 8th day of May 2017, the Township of Haverford Board of Commissioners, signed by Chris Connell, our Board President. Congratulations, David. I know there's greater things yet to come. In addition to David's achievement, David also is a little bit of a history buff and has a lot of knowledge about presidents. Is that correct? So I'm going to ask him a question, but before I do, I'm going to ask the board the same question. Then I'll open it up to the public to see if they can answer the question. So here's the question. Who was the 17th president of the United States, and who was his vice president? Wait, don't answer. I'm going to give this board the first chance. 17th president, and who was the vice president?
Jimmy Garrity?
Connor Quinn.
Anybody know here?
I know the 16th president was Lincoln.
Okay.
following
Anybody in the
him-
audience know the answer?
Martin Van Buren,
Who was the vice president?
Andrew Johnson.
Okay, David. Who was the vice president?
Was Andrew Johnson, but he didn't have a vice president.
Oh, wow.
Vice president. Good. There you go. Okay, David, tell us who your favorite president was and why.
Reagan, for more things I can name currently.
Okay. Anybody else have a question for David? Want to stump him?
What president's birthday is it today?
What president's birthday is today?
Today.
Truman.
Truman. Okay.
He's amazing. We played Quizzer together. He was on my team. Unbelievably amazing. He was our anchor. Unbelievable. It's like a machine.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's get a picture up here.
I just saw that trip.
Very much. We already have one, I guess.
You can have as many as you'd like. Congratulations, David. Next up, Commissioner D'Amelio and the Chief, the National Police Week and Police Officers Memorial Day.
Before I read this proclamation, I just want all of us to remember State Trooper Stephen Ballard that was killed in the line of duty last week. And rather than have a moment of silence, let's celebrate his life by thanking him, by giving him just a round of applause. Thank you all. This proclamation is for the National Police Week and Police Officers Memorial Day, whereas the police officers of Haverford Township have worked devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of Haverford Township, regardless of the peril or danger to themselves, and whereas these officers have safeguarded the lives and property of the residents of Haverford Township, and whereas these men and women, by their patriotic service and their dedicated efforts, have earned the gratitude of the residents of Haverford Township. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Commissioners of Haverford Township calls upon its residents to observe the week of May 14th to the 20th, 2017 as Police Week. Be it further proclaimed that the Commissioners of Haverford Township calls upon the community to observe May 15th, 2017 as National Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service to their community. proclaimed this 8th day of May 2017, Township of Haverford Commissioners by Chris Connell, President, and Larry Gentili, the Township Manager.
Thank you very much.
Can I have maybe the police committee come up too while we're here? This is playing part of our community as well. Thank you, Deputy.
All right, Commissioner, and you're going to... Chief, yep, go ahead with our second item on here is Officer of the Year. Chief Viola, you have the floor.
Thank you, Commissioner Connell. Every year, we recognize an officer who has been nominated by his sergeants. At our annual staff meeting, all the sergeants make a nomination of who they think is extraordinary and does a great job in their squad. It's a very, very difficult decision. We all vote on it, and the nominees all excel. But we have to settle on one person, and this year it's Officer Michael Kenny. Mike, come on up. Looks like you loaded the audience up like that. So it's an honor, especially for this time of the year, being National Police Week, and obviously a long history of law enforcement from me. And Mike comes from a family of law enforcement. His father's a retired captain from Upper Darby. His brother's a sergeant in Upper Darby. And I think your father-in-law is a detective in Montgomery County or Bucks County. Am I correct with that? So Mike has a lot of history with law enforcement. So Mike came to us in September of 2011. He's a graduate of Westchester University with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. Through the years, his time here, he's got 1 merit commendation, 2 unit commendations, and 2 letters of commendations. Mike is bicycle certified as a bike patrol officer. He's certified as a canine decoy. He's taken a 40-hour criminal investigation school. He's also part of our honor guard, which goes far and wide throughout the area as tribute to different law enforcement. So I'll read some of the highlights that his sergeant presented to us during our process. So one of the things he said, Mike's one of the biggest team players. His system backup process. He never questions what he has to do. Has excellent job knowledge. And Mike's a quiet kind of guy, and he said, don't confuse his quietness with his lack of wanting to be involved. His reports are thorough and among the most well-written in the police department. He arrives early with a clean, sharp uniform and is ready for duty 20 minutes. And you can see Mike looks sharp all the time. He's become a reliable go-to officer when tasks are delegated to him. He's learned to take constructive criticism as a learning opportunity. He shows a positive attitude when things do not go his way. He'd recommended for FTO or OIC in the future. So Mike, arrest, first in his platoon, top 3 in the department. Traffic citations, first in his platoon, second in the department. Non-traffic citations. Traffic citations, fourth in his platoon, top 10 in the department. Warnings, vehicle stops, pedestrian stops, incident reports, backups. So as Mike goes about his daily business, he's quiet, he's out there, and one of those officers you can rely on every day. And I think that showing that the officers are here to support him tonight is well-versed in what they think of Mike. So it's my honor to have Mike as our Officer of the Year, and it's a wonderful thing. So some of the things he has done also, 3 Narcan saves, and we talk about Narcan all the time with the opioid problems. He's had
located in missing juvenile, recovered 2 firearms, obtained confessions for stolen firearms. There's a whole list of things that Mike gets done. But he just does his job day in, day out without asking to be recognized. So it's an honor for Mike to be standing here with his fellow officers and myself before the commissioners. And congratulations to Mike, Officer of the Year. Thank you.
Mike, we're not through yet. We have a proclamation for you, and it's an honor for me to be standing here, as there's no secret of my support for the police department. Police Officer of the Year 2007, whereas the Officer Michael Kenny has performed diligently and faithfully the duties and services required of him by the Township of Haverford, and whereas the performance of Officer Michael Kenny was in the highest standard of the law enforcement profession, and whereas a vote has been taken by the Police Department supervisory staff to recognize Officer Michael Kenny's outstanding contributions. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that Officer Michael Kenny is hereby commended for his diligent and valuable service, presented this 8th day of May 2017, Township of Haverford Commissioners by Stephen D'Amelio, First Ward Commissioner, Chairman of the Police Committee, and Larry Gentili, the Township Manager. Officer Kenny, congratulations so much. More pictures? Oh, thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. We will continue with the 9th public session of the Board of Commissioners. And next on our agenda, we will continue with proclamations. And Mr. Oliva, would you please read our Arbor Day? Even though we had Arbor Day, we still followed through with everything, but the shade tree requires us to.
Okay, so here's proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperatures, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are renewable resources, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our community increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of the business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joyful and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, Haverford Township Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim this first day in April as Arbor Day in Haverford Township, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of future generations. Proclaim this 8th day of May, 2017. Township Board President Chris Connell, Larry Gentili, Township Manager.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I know it's housekeeping. We always have events every year for Arbor Day, and we also plant trees twice a year. I can't say it enough. Shade Tree wants us to say this because we have to keep our Shade Tree USA.
Tree City
Tree
USA.
City USA. So
Also, if I might add, we have planted the tree tenders program. Approximately 800 trees have been planted throughout the township, and we had a goal when we started 8 years ago to plant 1,000 trees in Haverford Township. And it looks like we're going to get to our goal. So
Do we,
remiss if I didn't mention Gene Angel, who is heading that.
coordinates that
yeah.
whole program. In fact, we just planted 58 more trees a couple weekends ago.
Yep.
So hats off. Good job. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, number 3 is a slide presentation. Mrs. Kirk from the Community Development Department has a PowerPoint presentation on medical marijuana dispensary locations. Mrs. Kirk?
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I just want to start off by just maybe clarifying some things. This ordinance isn't being written out of the blue. Pennsylvania put into effect a law back in April of last year to allow for medical marijuana facilities. What we're doing at this point is making sure that we have spaces in this community where we feel are the most appropriate. So, get started. Okay, so as I said, April 17th of 2016, the Pennsylvania law was signed and allows for medical marijuana, so prescribed by a doctor. You would need a certification from this doctor. The doctor needs to have a special license to dispense or to write the certification and their ID cards and different types of things. It's not a situation where you can just go to a store and buy it. At this time, no smokable marijuana is allowed. It's oils, pills, creams, things of that nature. Okay, so 2 types of organizations are being allowed. There's growers and processors and dispensers. The Act has very specific language that prohibits communities from prohibiting the facilities. As a township, we are not allowed to say, we don't want them, we can't have them. We are required to make space and find areas that we feel are appropriate. In the Act, the dispensaries are to be treated the same as commercial businesses, and the growers and processors are treated the same as an industrial type of business with manufacturing. We are to, again, find appropriate zoning districts for both the facilities, and the uses cannot be prohibited. So for the growers and processors, that was pretty much our easy fit. We have one zoning district in the township that allows for manufacturing, which is our LIN Light Industrial District, which we are planning on allowing those uses by conditional use, which would need planning commission review and then board of commissioner approval. Those facilities are located in those 2 circles, the first of which being Eagle and Lawrence Road, which this actually is a little less clear than I thought it was going to be, but the YMCA, Tony Roney's, Mr. Storage, that area. Okay. The second being Raymond Drive, which is a cul-de-sac off of Glendale Road, which is basically just warehouse type facilities. So for dispensaries, that was where we had to kind of really sit down and decide where we want these facilities to be. As they need to be commercial, we have 5 commercial districts in the town. This is the zoning map. The black is all of our residential or office, institutional, schools, churches, etc. So those ones that are left are your commercial zoning districts. Definitely thought it was going to be larger. So the first is C1, which is a neighborhood commercial. They're very small neighborhood type facilities, mom and pop stores, Wawa, stuff like that. Or that's not Wawa, but you get the idea. Next we have C2. Again, really tiny, small areas throughout the township. C3 we have a lot more of, but we're talking the businesses along Eagle Road, down Darby Road. C4, tiny little lots, and C5, which are the shopping center districts, which are larger lots with larger setbacks, further away from homes. So that is where we are proposing the dispensaries to be located by also conditional use. So again, with Planning Commission review and Board of Commissioner approval. On the map, we're showing where each of those are located. So we have Manoa Shopping Center to the most northern circle, followed by Lanark Shopping Center and the Quarry. The Pennsylvania law requires that all dispensaries also be within, not within 1,000 feet of schools or daycare centers. They can request a waiver from that, but they need to have a reason and a good one. In addition to the state's regulation for 1,000 square feet of daycares and schools, we allow daycares and schools in what's called the INS district. So it's an institutional zoning district. So we feel that they shouldn't be within 1,000 feet of that area either. Because most of our institutional zonings, which are, like I said, schools, churches, et cetera, have daycare facilities in them at this time. Okay. So Lanark Shopping Center and the Quarry, that little area, so that's the C5, showing a little bit around it. And these are the two institutional zoning districts that are within or about 1,000 feet of that shopping center. Now, the measurement that this is from around the parcel itself. That is not where the measurement is taken. It's from the wall of the facility to the property line of the INS district. I don't have the ability to go out and measure those because I don't know where those things would be proposed. If there were an actual permit, they would need to provide that information to us, and then we would make a determination, the state would make a determination that it is without a doubt out of that 1,000 feet. And Mr. Wexler, I know you had voiced concern about the school on the Upper Darby side. That is outside of 1,000 feet. Okay. Lanark Shopping Center, there are no INS zoning districts or daycares or schools within the 1,000 feet of that. Manoa Shopping Center is a bit of a stickier situation. There are 3 daycare facilities surrounding that area. Depending on where the facility would be proposed to be located in the shopping center, it is possible that a facility would be allowed, but without having a proposal and having the measurements, it's really kind of impossible to say. But it would be a little bit more of a hurdle for Manoa Shopping Center. For more information about the Act, you can check out the Department of Health's website. They have a frequently asked questions and things like that.
Excuse me.
Did you want me to? Yeah.
Isn't Township Line Shopping Center in that also?
I actually misspoke at the last meeting. I thought that it was. It is actually Zone C3.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add one point, the number of licenses that are being issued by the state for growers and dispensers is very limited. So I don't think our residents should necessarily assume that a dispensary or a grower is coming to Haverford Township.
Certainly not, and that's not what I was implying.
Yeah.
This is just so that we meet the state
Exactly.
requirements for having a place for it to go, and that's really all.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the board? All right, there being none, thank you, Mrs. Kirk. Did you want to knock that off? or-
She's going to shut it down.
You know what, Chris, can I just ask one question? I just remembered.
Mr. D'Amelio, sure.
I'm
Certainly.
sorry. The C5 district, which is at Manoa Shopping Center, how does that play in with the school and the daycare center that's there?
The 3 daycares that could be possibly within 1,000 feet of where the permit or this facility could be located is not something that I can say within 100% that Manoa Shopping Center is out. I don't think it is. I think there are probably units within Manoa Shopping
Yeah,
Center
it's-
that are not within 1,000 feet. I'm sorry, Dan.
It's within 1,000 feet of the exterior wall of the actual dispensary, so it would depend on where in the shopping center the facility is.
I apologize, but that
Yeah.
was fine.
Right.
So in other
Anyone
words,
else?
if it was near Applebee's, it's 1,000 feet from the wall there. If it was near the supermarket, it's 1,000 feet from the wall there. It depends on the actual
Wall to
storefront.
wall.
Yes.
Yes.
Not the whole shopping center boundary.
Thank you, Mrs. Kirk. All right. Next on the agenda, and next on the agenda, we have number 4 is Commissioners Committee updates. Anybody from the board have an update on a committee? There being none, number 5, the township order update will be given tonight by the township manager.
Thank you, Mr. Connell. Unfortunately, Mr. Zlotnick will not be able to attend this evening, but he did forward over his comments. However, like every other month, Mr. Zlotnick performed his normal monthly audit, requested several invoices from Mrs. Cuthbertson, and Mr. Zlotnick found no irregularities for the period in question and recommends approval of the warrant.
Thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you very much, Mr. Gentili. Next on our agenda will be the Citizens Forum. Citizens Forum is 20 minutes registered speakers and then 20 minutes for agenda items. And first on our list for registered speakers this evening, Mr. Levin could not be with us tonight, so he will not be speaking. The number 2 on the Citizens Forum sign-up is Mr. Randolph speaking to us for House Bill restricting reform.
Would it be a problem, we're in a group, and to change the order? So Jason
Well, yes, Mr. Pelk is here.
and Don Griffin is here, we're kind of a group, so Don.
Okay, of those 3, whoever, when you get up here, just please give your name and your address.
You can all go up.
Yeah, if you're.
You can all go
If you're all
up.
speaking, go up and
Yeah.
just tag team it.
Yeah, give her some support.
Hello. My name's Dawn Griffin, and I've been a Havertown resident for 13 years. I live in the Manoa section. The 3 of
And
us here.
your street address, please?
What's that?
your street address, please.
1109 Garfield Avenue.
Thank you.
And the 3 of us here, John and Jason, we're all part of a group called HCAN, which stands for the Havertown Area Community Action Network. And we're a local community group that we encourage progressive political action. And we now have 1,200 members and are still growing. By far the biggest subgroup that we have within this group is the Civic Engagement Group. And from township to state to federal level, we are calling legislators, lobbying, writing letters, and for many of us, this is a brand new thing for us. It's a very new undertaking. So personally, I chose to focus on 2 main issues that I feel strongly about, and I feel affect our country at every level in massive ways. And those 2 things are corruption and gerrymandering. And in many ways, gerrymandering is corruption. These problems are not the fault of a single party, but more so, whichever party is in power and our political system in general. I feel strongly that this is breaking the trust between constituents and their legislators and corroding our democracy. Today, we wish to specifically address the complicated issue of redistricting. We feel above all, drawing district lines that should be fair to the constituents, compact, contiguous, preserve communities of interest, but also protect legislators from party attacks wherein their house can be drawn out of a district before the next election. So, as you see, it affects all of us, whether we're constituents or legislators. We feel those who draw the district line should not be the party in power, as the conflict of interest there cannot be denied. As a constituent of the 7th Congressional District, which has the very telling nickname of Goofy Kicking Donald Duck, I was compelled to push beyond my comfort zone and speak at things like this, which I'm not very good at,
You're doing great.
but also go to the Capitol to lobby for a redistricting bill, which we're going to tell you about. We hope you support a resolution for fair redistricting by an independent committee and to encourage the passing of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Jason Pell, and I've been 6 years at 200 Hastings Avenue, and Delaware County resident almost my whole life. Also see gerrymandering as a real issue as it's focusing political energy simply on retaining power and not solving problems that voters more care about. One reason Pennsylvania is a ripe target for gerrymandering is the state often faces reapportionment, meaning we lost 2 seats in 2000, 1 in 2010, and are likely to lose another in 2020. This will require that lines be redrawn for remaining congressional districts, and because our district boundaries will be redrawn, the major political parties want them drawn to benefit them and not necessarily the citizenry. Voters should be choosing their politicians and not the other way around, with parties and politicians picking their voters. PA also has no limits on PAC donations, lobbyist donations, or funds raised by outside groups. For this reason, both Democratic and Republican parties are ramping up efforts and raising funds to gain control of redistricting after the next census. This will see a massive amount of money and effort from within and outside the state to influence the 2020 redistricting process. When politicians are setting up safe districts for themselves, they tend to be drawn more to the extreme ends of their party, which exacerbates polarization and doesn't really benefit anyone. We've worked with Fair Districts PA, and they're a coalition of citizens and organizations who believe that in American democracy, elections should represent the will of the people and not just the politicians, and should provide citizens with meaningful choices in electing representatives. Fair District supports a constitutional amendment to have the power taken from politicians and given to an independent commission, which Dawn mentioned, of which neither the commissioners nor members of their immediate families may be government or political party officials. There are 2 bills in the works right now, and John will cover a little bit more about that. Fair Districts has also been working on the problem of gerrymandering for years, and they've been a great resource for education, information, and action, definitely to myself. They give presentations throughout the state on this problem, and interest has really peaked recently as more and more people see this as an issue. I know we have a number of people from our group here, and I'm sure other people in the audience are also concerned with redistricting. Along with campaign finance, redistricting, and along with campaign finance, polls as 2 of the areas with greatest interest and reform amongst voters. To demonstrate, we hosted an educational event with Fair Districts, and it took about a month to get a speaker arranged due to limited availability, and we had 60 people pack into a small venue to hear the speaker. I think that same week there were 2 other events, and those were well attended within Delaware County, and those were well attended as well. So what are we asking of you? That would be, we've called our legislators and let them know how we stand, but another way of raising visibility and letting legislators know is having the township consider a resolution to endorse an amendment. And although it's mostly symbolic, I think it could go a long way in terms of raising the visibility of this issue. So I'll pass it over to John, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Randolph. I live at 19 East Clearfield Road, Havertown. I've been a resident of Havertown for 9, going on 10 years. I am a member of the group and a concerned citizen. I was in the Capitol today lobbying for the redistricting reform bill, and I'm going back tomorrow. And several of our members have joined me in the Capitol lobbying for this bill as well. I speak to Republicans and Democrats all the time in the Capitol, and both parties are concerned, especially the rank and file members. SB 22 is the bill in the Senate. It was co-introduced by Senators Boscola, a Democrat, and Senator Scavello, a Republican. So it has co-introduction in the Senate. Right now, I believe there are 10 co-sponsors, I'm not sure, but 10, there are 50 senators in our Senate, so that's 1/5 of the Senate. In the House, we're very excited. It was just introduced today. The co-sponsorship memo has been out for about 2 weeks. HB 722. It was co-introduced again by Democrat Samuelson and Republican Rowe, R-O-E, Eric Rowe. So we're excited to have co-introduction as well. In the 2 weeks that the co-sponsorship memo was out and reps were able to sign on, as of Friday, there were 86 representatives who have co-sponsored this memo. There are 203 reps in the House. We plan to keep going. If we get 102 reps to sign on to co-sponsor, that's that's a majority of the House. So we're very excited about this kind of support, but it is very bipartisan support. I've been in talks with fair districts, with party leadership, and this is not one party problem or the other party. This is a party leadership problem of both parties. They can wield the way the districts are drawn as a weapon, and if the rank and file member does not do the will of the party, their district can be redrawn so that they are now out of the district. This does not create an atmosphere where the will of the people is being served. And I just like a show of hands, is anybody concerned about gerrymandering? Okay. I think this says a lot.
Sorry.
Yeah, and it's not Democrat, Republican. This is about our legislators hearing our voices, the constituents. So we respectfully request our commissioners to present a resolution. I've given information, and Jason has made information available to the solicitor. There are over 30 townships or boroughs as of now that have passed a resolution. Lower Merion, Radnor is voting on it right now. Lower Merion recently, and we would like you to hear the voices of your voters, your constituents, and take up this resolution as well. Okay? Thank you so much for.
If you would just please, the name again of your organization and a website, perhaps?
I'm a member of HCAN, which is the Haverford Town Community Action Network. I also am a member of a group called March on Harrisburg. So we are lobbying in support of the redistricting bill and in concert with Fair Districts, PA.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have the website and the handouts, so.
You want
Okay.
to come up to,
Yep.
just come up to the microphone and
Give your website
give your
address.
website and,
Okay.
Well, www.marchonharrisburg.org. Thank you.
There you go.
that's for the people at home, so they can,
Yeah, the HCAN website is still kind of, I think it's work in progress, so it's kind of like a list of letters and numbers, so it'd be easier if I just
Very good, absolutely. Yep.
read it off, or just.
Go right ahead. You could read it off.
Okay.
And that way it's, because if anybody on YouTube wants to redo it, they can.
https://sway.com/5 lowercase r capital HD lowercase r lowercase h capital C S lowercase s lowercase f capital C capital E 0 or O 38 lowercase I.
Thank you. So you're going to leave,
yeah, is that it? That's it?
Thank you. HCAN.org. Okay, all right. HCAN.org. And that's with a hyphen.
Either one works.
Do you have a copy of a resolution that other townships have?
Just passed it out and it's
Okay.
coming to you now.
all right. Thank you very much for coming up this evening. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, next, number 5, we have down here Jonathan Newman regarding dogs in the park.
I'm not sure Jonathan's here, but Jen may be here, or somebody from Preston wants to, anybody? Oh, they left? Okay, I guess we'll have to put them
Thank
on
you.
for next month.
And number 6, Mrs. Hall. Okay.
Do you want me to close this? Kelly, you want this closed? I think I already wanted it open. Want it open? Okay. Good
Do you need
evening.
that room there?
That's okay.
need room?
I'm good, thanks. I'm here tonight to speak about the library. Again, I was here several months ago. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Jane Hall. I live at 161 Golfview Road. I've lived here for 32 years. I had occasion to go to a meeting at the library last Thursday evening. It was a short order meeting that was not posted appropriately for the participants to be invited. And it's unfortunate because it was only posted for 6 days and it needs to be posted for 7. I was alerted to the meeting on Wednesday. When I arrived, I was, I guess disturbed would be an understatement about what transpired. It was a travesty, really, truly, to see what has happened to the board that is running the library. I'm not going to, I certainly would never criticize the entire board, but the president of the board lost control of the meeting, did not adhere to Robert's rules in any way, shape, or form. There was an inability to come to any sort of agreeable way to approach what they were trying to do, which was, again, change the bylaws without alerting the taxpayers or the association, the Library Association, as to what they were doing. It saddens me, after spending 4 years with this Board of Commissioners trying to get to a good place with our one single library, which I say every time, to show up at a meeting that, A, cannot be appropriately run by the current board, and to witness an attorney that was sitting there that is paid for by the taxpayers, that continued to dispense opinions on what he felt should be done, including eliminating the voters in the room before the vote was taken, and just an overall manipulation of trying to make a passing of a change of the bylaws without taking the appropriate steps for the library board, for the association, and for everybody involved. This is our only library. I was there to make a statement. During my statement, I was interrupted by Commissioner McGarity as he went to call a vote, which he did not have the ability to call a vote during the meeting. I was asked to stop talking, and my thoughts were minimized, to say the least. In 4 years as commissioner, and let's be clear that the library sits within the 7th Ward, I never once saw Commissioner McGarity at the library, and I was there. I was there probably every other day for 4 years. Yet the other night, he had the audacity to stand up and try to manipulate the meeting and change the bylaws by calling for a quick and swift vote so that everyone would not have an opportunity to speak. Not only do I find this upsetting, but I implore the Board of Commissioners to do something quickly. The new website that was put out within the last few days by the library board no longer contains the minutes. It no longer contains the bylaws. It no longer contains the Constitution. There are things that are going on that are so duplicitous and so upsetting and so wrong for this community. We love the library. We made a commitment to the library when I was commissioner. We worked very, very hard. All of us worked very hard, save one, to put this forth in a strong and positive way for this community. I can't stand by and watch this happen. You have to do something. I ask you to please, please take action immediately. I was here. Oh, and by the way, they gave us 2 minutes and they had no beeper. So just a little overview of what transpired. So please, commissioners, take a good, hard look at this and do whatever you can. And if you don't have the ability, please get the advice of our solicitor as to what you can do, because the solicitor that's being paid by this community is inept, and I'm not even sure, I don't know what he has for a JD or where it's from, but the taxpayers should not be paying for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall.
You're welcome.
At this time, we will move on to the minutes for, these are speakers for anything that's on the agenda. It's 3 minutes for each individual, and we'll do up to a maximum of 20 minutes. So I will start with this side of the room. If anybody in the first row wishes to speak on an agenda item, the second row, the third row, the fourth row. On this side of the room, anybody in the first row, the second row, the third row, and I think that's it. The gentleman all the way in the back. Okay, thank you very much. For the first three individuals that came up, thank you very much for your coming to the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners about the redistricting reform that's going on. In fact, I guess the next time we will have that will be 2021 from the 2020 census and all. So thank you very much for your making your awareness of coming up here. The board, we will talk about it and see what we've come up with. Their recommendation is for a resolution to support this. Okay, and presently there is, for anybody that missed it, there is Senate Bill SB 22 that was brought onto the floor by a bipartisan group, and then House Bill 722 that came on today, brought on by a bipartisan group as well. If anybody is interested, you can contact HCAN with that.
It's hcan.org. hcan.org. Do not do the other one. Don't.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Newman is not here. And Mrs. Hall, we actually met to discuss matters this evening in executive session. So to let you know that, yes, the Board of Commissioners is looking at this matter very seriously. Thank you very much for coming up for your comments.
Mr. Connell, I'd like to respond to what Mrs. Hall said about Mr. McGarity. And number one, I agree that the meeting was out of order. She spoke probably 3 or 4 times. They should have been a 2-minute limit on it and let everybody have a chance to speak, and that would have settled that. But that was not the way the meeting was run, so that's the way it was handled. I did call for a vote after several people had spoken several times to have the vote, and let's move on. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anybody else have any other further comments? Thank you. There being none, we will move on with the agenda. And item number 7 is the approval of the minutes. Mr. D'Amelio?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2017.
Second. Seconded by Mr. Siegel. Okay, any comments? There being none, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Item number 8 is approval of the warrants. Mr. Holmes is not here this evening.
I'd be happy to do it.
Mr. Lewis?
A motion to approve the following warrant, number 5, 2017, totaling $4,418,709.58. General and Sewer Fund payroll for April 6, 2017, in the amount of $610,024.16. General and Sewer Fund payroll for April 20th, 2017, in the amount of $667,308.41. General and Sewer Fund payroll for May 4th, 2017, in the amount of $625,296.22. General Fund disbursements number 5-2017 in the amount of $1,528,113.20. Sewer Fund disbursement number 5-2017 in the amount of $73,659.13. Community Development Block Grant Fund disbursement number 5-2017 in the amount of $71,470.43. Home Grant Fund number 5-2017 in the amount of $47,152.23. Capital Projects Fund disbursement number 5-2017 in the amount of $787,067.61. Credit card statement ending April 27, 2017 in the amount of $8,618.19. And I hopefully did that faster than Mr. Holmes has traditionally done.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Oliva. Comments? Questions? There being none, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes, item number 9 is an ordinance for traffic. And I believe that is in the 7th Ward as also in the
Third
Sixth
ward.
ward.
Third ward,
Third
Chris.
Ward.
Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance P5, 2017, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Special purpose parking zone in front of 43 West Marthard Avenue. Parking of trucks prohibited at all times under 8,000 pounds exempt. Rosewood Lane, west side, entire length.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Oliva. Comments or questions? There being none on the second reading, take the roll, please.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes. Item number 10 on the agenda is ordinance P6, 2017, medical marijuana facility. This is a first reading.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Siegel?
Sorry.
Motion to adopt the
Ordinance Committee.
first reading of ordinance P6, 2017, amending and supplementing Chapter 182 zoning to add provisions establishing certain new use definitions and further establishing and regulating medical marijuana dispensary facilities as conditional uses in the C5 Shopping Center Commercial District, and further establishing and regulating medical marijuana grower and processor facilities as conditional uses in the LIN Light Industrial District.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wexler. And as we heard earlier from Mrs. Kirk, this is to be in compliant with our state requirements. Anything
Yeah,
further?
Just a further
Mr.
comment on
McCluskey?
it. I mean, I think when you read the motion, it's a motion regarding zoning. The issue of medical marijuana is not something this board is taking up at this meeting or in this vote. That's something that the state legislature has already passed. So it's important for the public to understand that what we're doing is really just reacting to a state law that was passed and taking the opportunity to take part in zoning restrictions as per our right of the township in the limited time frame that we have per the new state law. So that's really what we're voting on, and I think, obviously, I think all of us probably got a couple questions or a couple emails about it this week, and it's important for the public to understand that regardless of our own personal views, everyone on this board, regarding medical marijuana, we're voting on a zoning issue. We're not voting on medical marijuana as right or wrong.
Right. And in fact, it is on our website, and it is out there
Right.
from the township, yep.
Yeah, I was going to urge the residents to look at our township website because we did post it there. It's right there in the front. I had some questions about whether or not we're concerned about safety and issues such as that. We are concerned about safety. I believe our police chief, Lori, testified for this or in relation to this. So we're fully aware of some safety issues. We will obviously monitor what's going on as a township. But as Commissioner McCluskey stated, this is something that the state passed, and we are not passing a medical marijuana law. It's the state that passed it. It's Act 16, which was passed in May of 2016.
Wouldn't it
Mr.
be,
President?
Lori, or wouldn't it be analogous to to us providing for billboards or mobile home parks or things along that line.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, so we're required to do it.
Correct.
It's not an option. If
Exactly.
we didn't take
It's not
action,
an option. The
if it
option
didn't take
is-
action, we'd face a lawsuit if somebody came in to
If we
try to
attempted to prohibit it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, and they could put it, if we didn't pass this ordinance, they could put these wherever they wanted within retail districts.
Within reason, yeah, they could. That's why we chose.
In any commercial area,
In
any of
commercial
our,
areas, sure,
in any of our
absolutely.
commercial districts.
Yeah.
Mr. Siegel?
Yeah, I agree. That's with Commissioner Oliva. And the reason I originally made the resolution that we do this was so that the township could control the locations rather than have the potential for an application that could impose a location upon residents that would not be one consistent with the zoning. So this establishes that, and it is, in my reading, consistent with the very strict restrictions that are in the statute and the regulations that have been promulgated by the Department of Health from the state. We're very limited, but I think this makes the most sense.
Well, even if we put a tougher resolution, the state can, or someone could challenge the validity of this
Absolutely.
ordinance, so we can't even do that. There are,
The original draft that we had was much more restrictive, and we really, after we looked at it, thought, do we want to go forward with this and have the validity challenged and have
Exactly.
the entire ordinance wiped,
Right.
or do we want to, really just stick with something that's a moderate and works with the state law?
I appreciate your efforts in getting it up on the website quickly,
Yeah,
too.
well done.
If you'd like, I could put the PowerPoint up on the website tomorrow.
It's up to the board. I
Great,
would.
that'd be great.
That's
It's
perfect.
more information. We want to provide more information to the
And just to
citizens.
touch on the safety concerns, the state does have very, very, very extensive regulations that include surveillance and alarm systems and just all kinds of
And
monitoring.
the licensing of the facilities is the hurdles that have to be cleared, and it's amazing what
There's a
to
lot.
get a license is very difficult.
Yeah. And there are a very limited number of licenses, so the likelihood that they're coming in, that they're going to have a dispensary or a growing facility in the township are, I would say, small, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Well,
At
we
this
say
point-
that, but we had 3 inquiries into it, so.
But
we
we've
could say
also
that.
not had any.
Well, again, we're
we
not
have-
debating whether it would be good or bad to have.
No, I
Just
understand.
one at a
I'm
time,
just-
please, okay?
Yeah.
There hasn't been any formal applications
Right, I
that we
understand.
are aware of. The state did release a list, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, that only included the district that the application was applied for and the name of the company, and that is all. So those locations, or those companies do have locations in mind, but the state is not releasing them at this time.
Right, it could be anywhere in the
It could be
district.
anywhere in the entire District 1.
And what is
which
it, 8 counties?
Huge. It's Philadelphia, Bucks, Lancaster, Delaware County, Berks, I think. I mean, it's a very large area.
Okay.
All right, at this time, I would like to call the secretary to take a vote on this amending and supplementing the Chapter 182 of our zoning laws. Mr. Gentili?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
McCluskey.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Abstain.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. Connell.
Yes, with one abstention, the vote carries. Item number 11, ordinance number P7 2017, is also a first reading, and it deals with real estate. Yes,
Mr. President, I'd like
Mr.
to
Oliva.
make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P7, 2017, authorizing the sale of the township property at 516 South Eagle Road, Havertown, PA, at a public auction.
Second.
seconded by Mr. Siegel.
This is obviously the property that was given to or willed to the township for the Historical Society. This Historical Society sees no historical value, so they would like to sell the property, and so we are selling it for them at an auction.
Do we have a date? Do we have a date for the auction?
It is a very old property, yes.
Is this the Reardon Amendment or whatever? Chuck Reardon was
I think
involved?
that's a different
No,
property.
That's
Jim.
a different property.
Different.
Do we have a
Mr.
date
McCluskey.
lined up for this yet?
Do we know the date, Laura?
I thought there was a,
We didn't want to set the date until we had at least a first reading by the board. It would be pretty presumptuous.
Thank you very much. If there's no further additional, Mr. Manager, Mr. Secretary, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes. And just for all those that are in the audience, if they're not familiar with this process, that a first reading, anytime when an ordinance comes before the board, there are two readings. A first public reading, and then the second public reading will take place in June. Item number 12, ordinance number P8 2017, is repealing bicycle registration. It's a first reading. Mr. Siegel?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm going to amend how it's written in the agenda to be consistent with the ordinance. A motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P8 2017 to repeal sections 55-2 through 55-13, sections 55-23 and 55-25, and amend section 55-24 of the Haverford Township Code relating to the licensing and registration of bicycles.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. D'Amelio.
Want to explain it?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Siegel.
It was brought to our attention about a month ago, I brought it up at the last meeting, that currently in the Township Code, there are regulations relating to bicycles that require them to be licensed, registered, et cetera, through the township. Chief Viola explained that that ordinance or those provisions had not been enforced in many years. As a result, we propose this amendment to repeal those provisions of Chapter 55 that are no longer applicable or being enforced. And with regard to the other provisions within the section that remain, we change the penalty section to be consistent with current law.
Any additional comments? There being none, Mr. Secretary, take the roll, please.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes. That passes. Number 13 is a resolution, number 2049-2017, and this is for traffic light approval, Darby Mill Roads. Mr. McGarity, you want to take that one? Or
Motion to adopt Resolution 2049-2017, authorizing the township manager to submit application to PennDOT for traffic signal approval at the intersection of Darby and Mill Roads.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wexler. Comments?
Larry, explain that, please.
Certainly. This is a phase one of, you all remember, we were selected for a multimodal transportation grant, and this is the application process that we need to go through PennDOT. And you'll see the next resolution will be also part of that. It'll be us upgrading that intersection as well as upgrading the traffic signals at Mill Road and Darby Road.
Mill and Darby. Yeah. Take the roll, please.
Certainly. Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes, motion passes. Number 14 is a resolution, number 2050-2017, also a traffic approval for a streetscape project.
Well, anybody that's up by the middle school knows that these things are needed. Motion to adopt Resolution number 2015-2017, authorizing the township manager to submit application to PennDOT for the installation of flashing beacons at the existing crosswalk on Darby and Fairfield Roads.
Second. Can I ask a question too?
Seconded by Mr. Oliva. Yes, Mr. D'Amelio.
Larry,
Yes, sir.
What, this is part of the grant, is this?
It's all part of the multimodal transportation grant, correct?
Okay, I mean, I know it's necessary and I agree, but how do we get it in other areas of the township? Who decides that?
We apply for grants and get lucky enough to obtain them. If it's a crosswalk similar to this, an upgrade, and it's on a state road, you have to go through the PennDOT approval.
Well, I mean, I'd like to look at Eagle and Maryland because of the amount of traffic issues and
Go ahead. Go.
There's a number of locations throughout the township that we do have
Wait, go ahead.
that
Well, here's my concern, and I've talked about this many times.
Mm-hmm.
Eagle and Maryland, we've had several traffic accidents. We've had cars going into homes. We've had a woman that was unfortunately, tragically killed in a car accident. I just think that that's an area that we should look at.
Okay.
Understood. But let me answer his question first. We do, and we have to get a grant for that location.
That's fine.
Number one. And number two, that having minimal experience in dealing with PennDOT, I could tell you that's highly unlikely that PennDOT would give us approval, but doesn't mean we can't request because it's not an existing crosswalk there now.
Well, yeah, but also PennDOT put those striped lines in there because of what was going on. So they know about those issues.
It was part of, sure,
What was the remedial?
traffic calming. I understand.
And they did help.
We could certainly put in.
Sometimes it doesn't,
There's
but-
multiple grants. I don't believe that an Arley grant would justify for that, correct? Yeah, we look at it, but we certainly look at grants for it.
Okay, we also proposed that for, right in front of Sacred Heart School, that crosswalk in Manoa.
Terrible.
Which is terrible. We've had several accidents there. We've had people hit, so.
Absolutely.
That's our next.
Once we get
No,
the
I
grant.
agree. That area is bad. I've been there. I've seen that. He's absolutely right. It is horrendous. And anytime Sacred Heart has a function there, you know, you're almost taking your life in your hands crossing that street.
Exactly.
Believe me,
Exactly. You were
if
there.
I had the funds
Yeah.
if we had the funds to do every crosswalk throughout the township, we would have them implemented.
Well, no, I understand that. I mean, you can always
It's-
put them in everyone, but you have to, I think, choose I think those two are probably two of the worst that I've seen. I mean,
Yeah, the middle
and
school,
I'm
and
not
we
trying
were-
to diminish anybody else.
And the only,
Middle school, I would-
and honestly, the only reason that we're successfully able to move forward with this particular one, because we were lucky enough to tie all this in under that multimodal transportation grant.
I understand.
And keep in mind that our tax dollars are going towards this as a matching grant. It's a substantial amount of money. I think that when all said and done, even though we get, I believe it's $470,000, we'll probably have close to $200,000 to $300,000 matching into that.
So are we applying for a grant, for additional grants?
We're looking for additional grants for additional crosswalks throughout the town.
And one of them is the Sacred Heart area?
One is the Sacred
And
Heart
can we
area.
put my area on there?
Yes, certainly.
Any project moving forward with a grant that lessens the burden to the taxpayer, I don't think this
That's-
board or anybody in the
Well,
department has
not only that,
an issue.
but also helps
grants.
with safety, too.
Absolutely.
That's tough over, in your area, Steve, there's no, you have Lawrence and then you have Westchester Pike, and there really is no place other than right by Lawrence Road there, once you get away from there. So there's a lot of homes in there where people are crossing the road, trying to cross Eagle, and there's
No, I
place.
get it, but for some reason, that area is a magnet for problems.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it is.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that's the middle.
No other corner on that whole road.
That's the word. I think because it's the easiest one to cut through to Lawrence from.
You're probably right, yeah.
And if I could just add one more thing to it, and it specifically has a big impact for Mr. McGarity and the residents that actually down the Chatham Glen area, that a big part of this grant is addressing stormwater runoff. Because phase one of this, it's why we have a very short window to get these into PennDOT and get the phase one, the permits approved by PennDOT, because we will open up Darby and Golf Roads. We'll be putting that water retention area in, and then this we'll move in with the streetscape right after that. So it's all good stuff. Hopefully, it'll address some of our stormwater issues that we've been looking at for a number of years.
Okay, and regarding the streetscape project, please take the vote.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
That motion, yes, that motion passes. Number 15 is a resolution 2051, 2017 on agreeways, trails, and recreational program.
Mr. President,
Mr. Oliva.
motion to adopt resolution number 2051, 2017, that Haverford Township hereby requests a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant in the amount of $250,000 from the Commonwealth Finance Authority to be used for the acquisition of the property at 224 Foster Avenue and the redevelopment of the parcel into a community dog park, and to be it further resolved, the Board of Commissioners does hereby designate Lawrence J. Gentili, Township Manager, as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the Township and the Commonwealth Finance Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wexler. And this is the property that for years has been flooding out
Yes, this is Mr.
continuously over and over again. And in fact, they were before us 2 years ago and last year again.
Yeah, this is to mitigate some of the stormwater issues down in your area. You know, we got to do something with the stormwater.
And this is,
We can't build more,
Sorry.
bigger pipes.
Mr. McCluskey?
this is, we're voting to pass the application for the grant, right?
Yes.
That is correct.
Right.
Any additional? There being none, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Motion passes. Number 16 is a resolution 2052, 2017, also application flood mitigation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Oliva.
motion to adopt resolution number 2051, 2017, that Haverford Township hereby requests a flood mitigation program grant in the amount of $500,000 for the Commonwealth, from the Commonwealth Finance Authority to be used for the construction of an underground retention facility at the Chatham Park Elementary School. And be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners does hereby designate Larry J. Gentili, or Lawrence J. Gentili, Township Manager, as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the Township and the Commonwealth Finance Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lewis. And again, this is all part of the Chatham Glen watershed. These recommendations that were given us through the Mr. Pannoni and his associates. And this, again, is an application for the grant.
Right, and the, as you well know, this is to mitigate some of that water that's coming down your way, because all the water above from Brookline Boulevard down to Foster, or all the way down to Township Line, there's no other place for that water to go. So this is to mitigate some of that coming down and affecting.
Right, the Chatham Glen watershed actually, it starts behind the middle school and then takes in that area from that part of Brookline, through the Brookline neighborhoods, and that's the relief for Darby Road and Mill that we just spoke about is at the very top of that watershed, and that's what we're starting with. So it's not just one project to address this water management issue, it's several projects over a series of years that it takes.
Right, we've already done the one at George's house.
At Spring Road.
Yeah, Spring Road.
Chris, when do we expect those grants to be decided?
With what?
Yeah, I think it was yeah,
Yeah.
September.
Unfortunately, the process takes so long, takes 6 months, and then... Okay, any further? There being none, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes, motion passes. Number 17 is the appointment to the Library Board. Mr. Siegel?
Mr. President, motion to appoint Philip R. Goldsmith to fill the unexpired 3-year term on the Library Board to expire December 31, 2018.
Second?
Can I ask, do we have a resume on that?
I'm happy, if I may, I'll
It was with
address
the original resumes.
Huh?
It was with the original resumes, Jim. When we did the resumes,
He applied in January,
And-
but
He-
I think you have the resume.
I have information.
I
Okay.
wasn't,
You have it right there.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had one from him.
Okay.
Yeah, we interviewed him.
Yeah.
He came to the
Fellow
interview.
that we interviewed that Larry Holmes said was a friend of his, but he never gave us a resume.
Not this
Is that the
person.
fellow?
This is
That's
not this
him.
person at all.
That's not him. It was,
the guy.
it was somebody else.
If I may, because the library's been discussed tonight, and, this board appoints 4 of the 7 members of the library board, and currently there is an opening because 1 member has resigned. And I will leave it, suffice it to say that the board is concerned, and we want to make sure that the library remains the #1 library in this county, and that the library knows that it has our support. Mr. Goldsmith was one of many applicants for the position on the library board, and as we've all said, this year we had an extraordinary group of applicants. I think Mr. Goldsmith is particularly appropriate at this time because of his background. He served as the managing director of the City of Philadelphia. When he left that position, the Inquirer described him as Mr. Fix-It and said that he will be missed. He has served in a variety of positions in the public and private sector. He has been a vice president or executive officer of PNC. He was the deputy mayor in Philadelphia for policy and planning. He served on the board of the Philadelphia Library. His extensive resume, which I have here and which he submitted when he applied and he met with us, is extraordinary. He has also been a township resident since 1974. And has decided that he really wants to get active in township affairs, and feels that the appropriate place is the library. He met with us as we interview candidates early in the year, and I believe that particularly at this time, Mr. Goldsmith is probably the best of an extraordinarily good group of people who applied, and I endorse him strongly.
At this time, I will open up the board to any additional nominees.
I would just like to add to what was said. We had the chance to interview Mr. Goldsmith back in January, and as you alluded to, there was a group of exceptional candidates that applied for the library board at that time, and he really stood out as somebody who I think can make a great contribution and wants to serve for the right reasons. So I think it's a good choice. So I endorse Mr. Goldsmith as well.
I concur as well.
There being no additional nominees, I will ask for that the nominations be closed.
So moved.
Just make it,
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. D'Amelio had a comment, I believe.
Mr. D'Amelio
I
wants
just want
to
to
say
make a comment. I agree. His resume was great, and his interview was great. I just think we should have had his resume. That's all that's what I want to say. We probably should have distributed it again. We interviewed him in January, and probably should have had it in our packet. Because sometimes, months go by and you tend to forget everyone, or you want to look at their qualifications again, and I understand that, but I think it would have been prudent for us to have remembered to do that. In the future, we should
I concur with that.
remember that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. D'Amelio. As the nominations are closed, and Philip R. Goldsmith is the only one, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Mr. Goldsmith?
Mr. McCluskey,
Phil Goldsmith.
Mr. Siegel,
Mr. Goldsmith.
Mr. Lewis,
Mr. Goldsmith.
Mr. McGarity.
Mr. Goldsmith comes very highly recommended by my astute commissioners, and in a bipartisan support, I will vote yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Mr. Goldsmith.
Mr. Oliva,
Mr. Goldsmith.
and Mr. Connell.
Yes, for Mr. Goldsmith. Congratulations, Mr. Goldsmith. You're here this evening. I just don't see you out there. And congratulations to the library board there. All right, moving on.
That was nice. We really get a clap for
We can't comment right now.
They're upset.
No, but when we do citizens forum again, you can come up. Item number 18, contract awards. It's for Public Works Traffic Signal Maintenance Contract.
Mr. President,
Mr. Oliva.
motion to award the traffic signal maintenance contract to Charles A. Higgins and Son Media PA in the amount of $33,981, submitting the lowest responsible bid contingent upon their execution of the contract and supply of the required bonds and insurance.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Siegel. Are there any comments? Anybody wish to comment? Questions? There being none, Mr. Secretary, please take the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mr. McCluskey?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
No.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
And Mr. Connell?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 19 is the continuation of citizens forum for non-agenda items. And I'm going to start on this side of the room on the first row, second row, third row. Please come forward. Yep.
Yes.
To the mic, we have 3 minutes, and please give your name and your address.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come up to speak on behalf of the library program. My name is Rochelle Nocito, and I am the acting director of the library program. I was given the position actually through Monica Bocella, and it was approved by the Board of Trustees. Now, the reason I wanted to speak today is because there's been some turmoil between the Board of Trustees and staff and other issues that were present a long time before me. You know, I don't even want to go there. But I want the gentlemen in the room, the commissioners, to understand 2 to 3 things. Very important. I was not at the meeting the other night, but I understand that some of our funding may be threatened. Please don't do that. Secondly, I have Diana Mattio, Donna Reeves, I have Shannon Connor, and Michelle Caesar. Just 4 of the people who are passionate, outstanding, and very, very dedicated to making the library program the best in Delaware County. And because of adults, and I don't know if you call them adults, I'm not sure, arguing over things that have nothing to do with the jobs we do and how our program satisfies the people of Delaware County, not only Haverford Township, but the people of Delaware County. You put us at risk by telling us on one hand, oh, you're a great library, but then on the other hand, they're coming to me telling me that some of our funding may be cut. We are in the middle of a very promising future with the new library. Please do your best to get these issues straightened out. You have the power, not I, not the people that work there. You have the power. And we are struggling under undue tension. It's not necessary. Thirdly, Phil Goldsmith is outstanding. I worked with him in the Philadelphia School District. Thank your lucky stars he'll come on board. And that's all I have to say.
Michelle, what was your address? You didn't give an address.
My address, I'm proud to say, is 85 Rodmore Road, Havertown, PA, 32 years. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Rosita?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I'm William Munich. I live at 2926 Oakford Road. I'm a constituent of Mr. Holmes. Unfortunately, he's not here. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and many of the neighbors I've spoken to in the last 2 days. We're very, very concerned about the drinking parties that go on in Normandy Park. Normandy Park is a park at the intersections of Normandy Road, Cricket Avenue, Oakford Road, Aubrey. No, I should say bounded by those. Now, I understand that people apply for a permit to use the park for a party, and they promise, among all these things, that they will not use alcohol at the party. This Saturday evening, May 6th, I think it would have been, there was a party, very nice party. I live right there. I walk out my door and I walk around and chat. Every person had a bottle of beer in his hand. I'm not against beer. I'm in favor of it. And I'm in favor of parties too. But they have the beer, and they have a permit that allows them to have a band. So this party band is rocking out the party hits, and everybody's drinking, and things get louder and louder and louder. And we are really, really fed up with it. This has really been going on for years. Somehow they flaunt this just egregiously, this law, rule we have about not having alcohol there. The end of the park is across the street, a very small street, from a bar. I'm not accusing the bar people, but it seems to be fairly common knowledge that the beer and stuff is supplied by that entity there. Again, I'm not making any accusations. I spoke to my one neighbor. Her husband just had a stroke. He's sitting there trying to recover from a stroke, and we're listening to this thump, thump, bang, 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 bang of a party going on. I just have to tell you, gentlemen, if a rock band set up across the street from your house and started playing and played for 3 hours, I think you'd call the cops pretty fast. And we don't want to keep calling the cops. The cops are great here. They do everything they can. In general, I want to say bluntly, we don't want we don't want that park used for parties. We don't think it should be a party venue. We fought tooth and nail, as many of you may remember, years ago, to keep developers from building townhouses there, so we could have a beautiful green space for our kids, grandchildren, old guys like me to come and sit there and enjoy something peaceful. And we feel that we pay a lot of taxes that gives us the right to live in a Haverford Township, for peace and quiet. And we're not getting the peace and quiet. So there's two issues there. There's the alcohol that just seems to be egregiously flaunted. And there's the noise. And if we didn't have the alcohol, I don't think anybody would want to have a party, because it's not much fun. So I don't know what to do about that, but I have one quick suggestion. If in the permitting process, it could be stipulated that loudspeakers are not permitted in the park, except by maybe the Civic Association on this July 4th, the kids' Easter egg roll, the children's movie night that they have during August sometime. But if you didn't have the loudspeakers, they wouldn't want to have a band, because you can't have a quiet band. And if you can't have a quiet band, you don't want to have a party, and then you won't have the people drinking the beer. So it would take care of a lot of things.
Thank you, Mr. Munich.
I'm pleading with you, please do something about it. We're dying over here. They're killing us. And I heard that the same group has applied for and will have a party this Saturday night.
Okay. Thank you very much. I got to keep it to the 3 minutes. And last row on this side.
Hi,
I'm Cheryl Forsey-Gropp. I live at 107 Landaff Road, and I'm coming here to talk to you all and to the audience about the library. I've come to you before about the library. I'm a strong advocate of the library. I served on the board from 2002 to 2009, and I'm actually really concerned about the meeting that they had last week where they tried to pass an amendment to the bylaws and constitution of the library. And the way the constitution of the library is set up, and I know about this because I was on the board for 7 years, in Article 3, it says that any resident of the township who is over 18 can be a member of the association and will have voting rights. And last week, the Board of Trustees tried to pass an amendment to the Constitution barring all employees, spouses, and immediate family members from being voting members of the association, including barring them from voting on the 3 association positions on the board. I can't think of a clearer example of voter suppression than this, because we all are part of the township, we all live here, we all pay taxes, and whether you are a family member of an employee or not, you should be able to vote about how the library is governed. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. Sounds like it's been brought to your attention quite a bit. And say we really need to include everybody when we think about our library and its future, because it is the center of the township. And I also want to thank you for voting on Philip Goldsmith. He sounds like a tremendous addition to the board, so I'm excited to see what he'll make of it. But let's keep an eye on the board that we don't limit who can be involved and have a say in the library's future, because it's really, really important to our township. Thanks so much.
Continuation of the back row. On this side of the room, first row. Going once, going twice. Second row. Third row. Thank you. Mrs. Rosito, please, as far as the library goes, yes, ma'am. Rosito. I'm sorry. Rochelle.
Rochelle, that's okay. I didn't mean to get upset with you.
It's okay. I understand you're also passionate. I get it. We all get it. And we do support the library. Everybody on this board here, supports the library. So I just want to say, we've consulted with our solicitor, so I can't say too much. But I want you to know that this board is looking at that matter very seriously, and that there is no one here has mentioned cuts of funds at all. To cut funds? I don't know if anyone...
No commissioner or at a commissioner's meeting, we have never discussed cutting the library's funds. We have not. Has anybody?
I'll explain.
Okay.
Okay, Mr.
I was at the meeting, and I spoke, and I have been at multiple meetings of the library board. I have expressed at both meetings at which I attended, at which the board attempted to make changes to the bylaws and constitution, my concern both about the legal advice they received, the actions they were taking, and the propriety of those actions, particularly with regard to the impact of them on the public. I expressed last Thursday, after watching what appeared to be a dysfunctional board, my concern as to the board's leadership and ability to steward a $7 million project that this board has approved. I feel that the board needs strong leadership that both supports the vision of the library, supports growth of the library, and supports continual success of the library. And that is done not through using techniques that are questionable to suppress votes, but is done by having a board that encourages an open dialogue that allows the staff to feel comfortable in their positions, and that assures that the library will serve the community rather than the appearance, as it appeared to many of us, of certain board. members. As a result, I am particularly thrilled that we have appointed Philip Goldsmith to the board because Mr. Goldsmith has the background, the leadership to address, I hope, with his colleagues and create the atmosphere that will allow me, who I was the first person as chair of the property committee to come forward and say we need to address the library. I am a very passionate supporter of the library. People who know, I'm an author. I've published 9 books. I believe in libraries. I believe in books. But I also believe that the library needs appropriate leadership. I am optimistic that with this board's unanimous support of Mr. Goldsmith, that the board can move forward. But I did express my reservations about entrusting a major renovation to a board that seemed more concerned with who was going to vote for them than the future of the library. And I stand by those statements because it's the future of the library that matters and not the concern or the interests of 1 or 2 board members. And I stand by those statements.
Thank you for explaining that. And I will tell you, Madeline O'Frea.
Can you come up?
We can't have a dialogue.
Actually, we're good, okay.
But you can't be doing that. You
Okay,
cannot be doing
but we can't have a back and forth dialogue, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Don't worry
And
about
I think, and that also will go with Mrs. Forrest grew up as far as Mr. Siegel. Yes. Right. And I will say that Mr. Byrne is our solicitor, not the library Board of Trustees Commissioner, or solicitor, he's ours. So we had him first. We're keeping him. Okay. Mr. Munich, as far as Normandy Park goes, yes, the first thing you should do if there's a violation and you're aware of it is to call 911 and have police enforce it. I understand that you may not want to call them, but you know what, there's no other alternative but to call them. As far as saying, you know what, one group can't play music or have loudspeakers and another group can, I don't think we could do that because it would just be, actually, they would be telling us that we're favoring one organization as opposed to another or a department. So the township can't say, okay, you can have a loudspeaker, but to a resident, you can't have a loudspeaker. I don't think we could probably do that. The parks, though, would you like to comment on anything, Mr. Denny?
Sure. First of all, I apologize that you've had to put up with that. I wish we had.
Well, you know that they're coming this Saturday, same guys.
Yeah, I will, so there is no alcohol allowed at parks. And I think you're right, that if that's enforced, probably takes away a lot of that. I do think Commissioner Connell's correct that it gets kind of tricky to say you can have music, but you can't. But certainly there's probably something we can look at on the permit to enforce that. And I think I suspect you're correct that there's a relationship with the bar across the street. And I'll certainly talk to a woman who issues our permits and take a look at that tomorrow. And then I think what I'll do is make the police aware of any time a permit is issued there and ask them to please make their presence felt so that we can get rid of the alcohol issue. But, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that's happening, and we'll do everything we can to squash that and get rid of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sir, how many times have you or any of your neighbors called the police when they were drinking over there?
Well, this is the beginning of our.
We just said no back and
so
forth.
that's 1 for 1.
Right.
I just said it. Oh, I've been here going on 30 years. I've called.
Do you have, maybe, no, I'm sorry, I can't allow back and forth. Is that one group thing? Let that group do it, not that group do it? So I'm sorry, but,
Well, sir, we'll make our presence known Saturday night.
Thank you. Thank you.
that it, chief?
That's it.
The reason I asked was because Mr. Viola, and he will make his presence known, but also they have to call. And it's 911. You'll see our men there before you know it.
Okay, thank you very much. And that takes care of everybody that's on the list. And the next we have down here is New business. Does anybody have anything to bring up under new business?
I'm putting it on.
This is going to be under new business?
Is that?
Oh, okay.
That's
Well-
what you wanted to do it, right?
Yeah, I was going to do the commissioner briefing, but it's okay, we can do it now.
Emilio? Go ahead.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, there was a major fire down at Barnaby's early Sunday morning. All of our five fire companies responded. And remember, they're all volunteer fire companies, saving the taxpayers millions of dollars. And they put their lives on the line for all of us. And, you know, we should thank them as well as our police, our fire police as well that were on the scene there. I wanted to give you a perspective of what was happening. This was the fire as it was raging. And this is the deck of Barnaby's. And don't know if that's a firefighter in there, but yeah, there's several firefighters right there. They were in the building while that was going on. You have the next slide, Larry? Here's many, go back one.
Back.
Yeah. Here's our fire companies, and this is John Viola, along with our board president, Chris Connell, who was on the scene as well. And our government was there, and our public works department was there as well. They were very helpful with this fire as well. Go ahead, Larry. This is when it was really going. This is how bad this fire was. And there were vehicles that were parked by the this building here that actually melted. Go again. Now this was, I don't know if this was one of them, John, was it?
No.
Go ahead.
It's about to be.
So this is some video that I took here, and this is when the fire was pretty much knocked down, but as you can see, there was still fire in here, and we had to get Public Works to come in with a heavy, this machinery here, to move some of this debris out, and when he did, there was still fire trapped inside there. So you see firefighters, these are volunteer firefighters up at the top of the roof here, and you can see how close they are to the fire. So I want to thank all of our volunteer firefighters for the heroic job that they did. Our Public Works team, our police, our fire police who were out there, and believe it or not, had to put up with some people who were trying to get by the fire scene, which is unbelievable. So John was there. He's the chief of Brookline. Our chief at Minot was there. Mike Norman, and our deputy chiefs, and all the chiefs were there. In fact, all the fire companies, and Narberth Ambulance was there as well. Am I missing anybody, John?
Springfield Medford Assistant and Mark Brumall.
Springfield, and I think Clifton Heights was here. Did they come in?
Drexel Hill.
Drexel Hill did. Radnor was also covering for us. So what happens is, and we've discussed this many times, whenever there's a fire, there's mutual aid. So when we're out at a major fire, we have other fire companies that come into our township, and we do the same to render mutual aid. So I can't thank all of them enough. You should have seen the work that they did and how hard they worked. I mean, by the end of that fire, they were extremely exhausted. And remember, they have to put all that equipment away. They have to go back to their firehouses and then try to be with their families. And some of them gave up some time with their families that, you know, they had events scheduled and whatnot. So if you see them, please thank them for what they do in our township.
Any other commissioners with you, Steve, there?
Commissioner Connell.
I mentioned Chris Connell.
Okay. I just wondered.
Yes. Yeah, I mentioned him in the.
I believe you said board president, Chris Connell.
I said board.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
And
I mean, there's a picture of him. Now that's somebody we don't know. Look like you, Chris.
No, but
Chris Connell was there, right?
Yeah.
thank you very much. Services to the community. So our chief of police is also the chief of the fire company. What a dual role. Which hat? This hat? That hat? Wait a minute.
Yeah, you had both hats on that day. So.
All right. Thank
I
you
want
very
to
much.
thank one other thing, Wawa, too. I do want to thank Wawa because we called Wawa, and you know, let's face it, it was a cool Sunday morning. The firefighters are with using water, obviously, and getting wet, cold, and we were able to get coffee for the firefighters, and they did not charge us for all this coffee that they gave us. So I want to thank Wawa. That's showing real community service, and it's the Wawa here at Darby and Eagle. So thank you so much to Paul, the manager, he just said, you know what, take it, tell the guys be safe, and I thanked him immensely for what he did. That was just great, so thanks to Wawa.
Applaud for the volunteer fire company and the businesses that have helped out, Public Works and to Wawa. I just want to mention, as far as, I'll get this through now, is that Memorial Day ceremonies, Monday, May 29th at 11 a.m. will take place here at the Township Building. It's usually at Veterans Memorial Field, but as you know, that campus is under construction right now. So please, if you're home over the weekend or you're home on Monday, please join us at 11 o'clock in the morning, May 29th on Monday, for our memorial services right here at the Township Building. Next on the agenda is other business, and I will start with Mr. D'Amelio, Ward 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the Westgate Hills Civic Association for meeting with me last Saturday. They asked me to meet with them down at the park, and we did tour the park to look at some improvements we can make that needed to be made. And I want to thank Tim Denny for getting quickly on some of those repairs. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. We also looked at a possible trail there, and we'll discuss that further with the township manager and see if we can get some volunteers to assist us with the trail in the back there. And that's probably, hopefully, Larry and I will tour the area to ensure safety issues and whether or not we can ensure that no one gets to the public yard there. Finally, I mentioned this in the last meeting, and I want to make sure that I say it again. I want to thank, as many of you know, my wife is battling breast cancer and is scheduled to have surgery again within the next couple of weeks. I just want to thank those of you that sent my family prayers, food, and cards. I can't tell you how much we certainly appreciated that. Your generosity really touched our heart. It is a great community, and it's showing, at least I see it. I can't thank you enough. It's my wife, one thing that she wanted me to make sure that everybody knew is how important it is to get a mammogram. So I keep stressing that because, mammograms save lives, and we are confident, and the doctors are confident at Penn, that she's going to beat this. And so thank you all for what you've done for my family, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. McCluskey?
Sure. Just a couple community events to bring to your attention that we're taking in and around the 3rd Ward. The St. Dennis Fun Fair continues this week from Wednesday to Saturday. So if you haven't made it out, or even if you had, it's a fun event. I know Commissioner Lewis was there, and I saw him on all the rides.
Did he get sick?
I only saw him before, and I didn't see him after. The Merwood Park Civic Association is on May 20th is having a Quizzo night to support park improvements, if you can make it. And yesterday was Broad Street, and I know a lot of Haverford Town residents ran it. So if you want to follow up on your Broad Street training, or even if you feel guilty for not running in Broad Street, Haverford Recreation is going to have a series of Sunset 5K trails this summer on Wednesday nights, May 31st, June 28th, and July 26th at 7 p.m. And before that, Chestnut Walled Elementary School in the 3rd Ward, or I guess that's in the 6th Ward, but a lot of 3rd Ward residents go. And Commissioner Holmes not here tonight anyway, so is May 21st. And as Commissioner Connell mentioned, Memorial Day is upcoming. The American Legion on Grassland Avenue is having a pancake breakfast on Memorial Day from 8 to 11, hosted by the Boy Scouts, and then they have a cookout in the afternoon from 1 to 5. All are welcome and family-friendly event. I am compelled just to comment sort of passingly on the topic of the night that has the library that has kept appearing. And I wasn't at the meeting, and I'm not going to comment. I don't believe it's necessarily my position to comment on the merits of whatever was being decided. But I think one of the main issues, and I think what really needs to be addressed by the library board, is that there's a lack of confidence when things aren't done process-wise, and there's a lack of confidence that's not done when things are done at the last minute and they're not advertised and they're not open to the public and they come upon people at the last instant. And I think a large part of the process that this board as a Board of Commissioners, we strive to constantly improve ourselves in terms of transparency and openness. And, you know, I lose votes all the time here, but it's out there. And if, you know, either side of an issue, win or lose, the problem that the Library Board is facing right now is that twice in the last 5 months, there have been surprise meetings where bylaws are seeking to be changed, and that's just inappropriate. So from my perspective, you know, the library board and all the boards that we have in the township, I think it highlights why process is so important and why an openness of that process is important. You know, my understanding is the Library Association, we appoint 4 members, and there's 3 members appointed by the association. The association later this month is going to appoint a member due to a vacancy. And I would urge the library board and the library association to take every step to make sure that is publicized, to take every step to make sure that election is open and fair. And I think that'll go a long way to heal some of the wounds that the acting director mentioned in terms of tension that existed long before she got there. But there is a significant amount of tension, and I think an openness to the process will go a long way to heal those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Siegel?
Yeah, I only have 2 brief things. One, I guess we should thank PICO for finally paving their portion of Eagle Road. And so we have half of a road, and we're working on the other half paved. The other thing I just want to comment on and thank the people, we had a full room, standing room only for my joint constituent meeting with Commissioner McCluskey. And it was a little bit different from prior meetings. The Y, as usual, came in the spring. And they had addressed so many of neighborhood issues that they basically were there to tell us the good things they were doing. And the meeting had overall a really spirit of optimism about the township, the direction everything is going, from the new municipal building to our parks. It was a particularly optimistic atmosphere that we don't always get. A lot of times we just hear a lot of complaints, which residents are entitled to, about traffic and other issues. But I thought it was very different from any prior meeting I had had. And I thank the residents, because sometimes it's nice to hear that things are going nicely. We want to hear the problems too, to fix them. But it was a change of pace, and thanks to Chief Viola, Deputy Chief Hagan, the township manager, Larry Gentili, Lori Widup, and the others who were present at the meeting, because it really did show that I think we're really moving in the right direction. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Lewis?
Yes, just a couple quick items. First, an update on the College Avenue Bridge. When you drive by there, you might not think that they're making much progress, but in talking to PennDOT about a week and a half ago, they told me that that project is on schedule. They had some utility issues they were dealing with, and that caused a delay, but they feel confident they can make up the time, and it looks like a November completion, November-December completion. In fact, PennDOT is planning to let the contract on the Ardmore Avenue bridges sometime in January, and Commissioner McCluskey and I will be holding a public meeting together, since our wards are most impacted, sometime in the fall, to talk about the Ardmore Avenue bridges and their design, and get public input and comment and address concerns. The second thing is, just want to remind our residents of a unique opportunity, a recycling day, electronics recycling day. It's coming up on May 20th. It's on our website, but it's May 20th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Delaware County Community College. It's sponsored jointly by us, Larry, is that right, and a couple other townships. Talk about electronic recycling. So it's a free event for all township residents.
What's that, anything with a plug, right, Andy?
Anything with a plug.
Anything with a plug, with the exception of a refrigerator, but it's Haverford, Marple, and Newtown townships.
We do it together.
We do.
Great service to our residents. So, yeah, so it's a Delaware County, Marple, Haverford, and Newtown townships. So please take advantage of that. We do it annually, so it's annually, right, Larry? Well, he's always distracted. But anyway, I think it's annually, so please take advantage of that opportunity. Also want to thank all of you for being here tonight and talking about redistricting reform. I personally support what you're doing. I was on the board when my first tour duty, and Lois can recall this, in 2000, I guess it was 2004 to 2008.
we had a situation in here in Haverford Township where the board at the time basically, sliced and diced up the township, gerrymandered it, and actually brought the edges of my ward, the 5th Ward, up to my flower bed. So we fought them, and took 2.5 years, but we were able to prevail. And you'll see that our lines today are compact and contiguous as a result. So thank you for your efforts. And so I would urge this board to consider taking action and supporting this through a resolution, maybe at next month's meeting. I don't know what the timing is, but on getting this in. But I would urge that we.
Do you have like a
take action.
sample resolution that we?
Yeah,
could-
they do in the back of this. So
Okay,
we'll,
okay.
we'll take, obviously everybody's got to voice their view, but I personally support it. I think it's a great what you're doing. So I'll be pushing it.
Yeah,
You add to it.
we could just not to jump in on your comments, but like Lower Merion and a couple of the other townships, as they said, we can take a look at their language too. Maybe we can pull them all together and see what works for us.
And finally, our third thoughts and prayers go to Steve and his family. He just stepped out. So Steve, just saying thoughts and prayers go to you and your family as you go through a difficult time. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. McGarity?
Okay, thank you, Chris. First, I'd like to, I forgot to say this before, but thank Father Cox at Annunciation Church. He gave us the facilities for the Kevin Kane Foundation for that day, and it was great, and the crowd was bigger than ever, and they were very successful. Also, Pastor Tim at Temple Lutheran Church, who comes here several times and does a service for us, he is a big supporter of the Kevin Kane Foundation. Also, what Steve D'Amelio was saying was correct. We have to remember that all our firefighters are volunteers. And there's two things that are really getting to a lot of people in Haverford Township. And number one is what Johnny Viola, the chief, reads every year is the police briefs and the car break-ins. Well, more than half of those are not break-ins. They're unlocked cars and unlocked vehicles, and they're inviting the criminals to come in, take the ladies' wallets and pocketbooks and things like that. So we have to pay more attention to locking our vehicles up, because three-quarters of them, if you look at them, they're unlocked vehicle, right down the list. And the second thing is the fire companies. They have a dues drive, and I can tell you, I'm a member of Brookline on the board of director, and I can assure you, Manoa and Bonaire and Lanark and Oakmont are in the same situation Brookline's in. A lot of people are just forgetting to send in their dues, and they need these dues to keep the firehouses running. We have 5 in this township, and we probably have more volunteers in Haverford Township than they have anywhere in Delaware County. So we want to keep it that way. So please, if you haven't paid your dues, please send your dues into your just whatever fire company is yours, not the 5 fire companies, but send it in and help us keep that quota that we have every year so that we can keep on schedule with all the things that we need to do with equipment and things like that. And basically, as Chris said, right out here on Memorial Day, what is it, on Monday?
Monday, the 29th.
The 29th, because a lot of people still think it's going to be at the police field. It's not going to be down there. There will be no ceremonies whatsoever. They'll be right out back here. And the other final thing I have is when we were talking about credit and things like that, well, Lori Hannon Wood deserves a lot of credit because she's got the whip out for those people down at the police station, and that's why we're really progressing very well down there. And Lori's doing a great job making sure that they stay on schedule and keep the costs down. So that's all I have. Thank you.
No pressure.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Wexler?
Yes, May 25th is the quarterly meeting of the Hilltop Civic Association, which also doubles as my constituent meeting. It occurs at the Bonaire Firehouse, Thursday evening, May 25th at 7 p.m. I'd also like to echo Commissioner McCluskey and Commissioner Siegel's words about the library. Rochelle, I'm happy you're here. I think the library is in good hands. She made the determination, what we're talking about, the turmoil, is with the Board of Trustees. The day-to-day operation, the dedication of our employees is superior. We do have the best library in Delaware County, bar none, because of the employees that are sitting here. We have a strong director as our acting director that replaced Christine, so the day-to-day operations and the day-to-day management are strong. So changing the bylaws, transparency, as eloquent as Kevin said it, that's very important to the public. They're a governance committee, but the day-to-day operations is safe and secure under Rochelle's administration as our acting director of the library for now. And we're happy that she's here. We're happy that we have such a great staff. But we will address, as as President Connell stated, we've had a meeting and we are addressing some of the issues at the other turmoil. So thank you, Kevin, for those good words. And then also I'd like to just, on a sad note, a very good friend of mine, and a lot of people may know her, longtime principal of St. Margaret's School in Narberth, who's also formerly worked at St. Dennis years ago, Sister Corinne Ritchie of the Sisters of Mercy. Her funeral and is this evening, so I couldn't attend, but just a great woman, great leader, great educator, along the same lines as what our library does. Just a great woman that served our community years ago and then moved over to Narberth as the principal of St. Margaret's after a time at St. Dennis years ago. So I just ask you to keep her in your mind and prayers as well as Steve's wife. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Oliva.
All right. I have a few things. The newly formed Manoa Civic Association will be having their first meeting on May 22nd at 6:45 p.m. In the Everett Hall, which is the lunch area of the school, the cafeteria part. Also, we'll be having a blood drive up at the Crack Friday, May 12th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you can go up to the Evergreen Room at the Crack, which is the multipurpose room, and give blood up there. I noticed Jimmy was talking about Lori and cracking the whip up there. I did want to mention, because I know it kind of got lost in the shuffle, but Lori was able to get us $1 million grant for that building. And I don't think we've given her enough kudos on getting us $1 million grant for the new building. So thank you very much for that.
Kudos.
The $1 million grant. I want to thank everybody for coming out to Springfest yesterday. Was a good time. What's that?
And the rain, a little bit of a rain.
Yeah, a little bit of rain, but didn't stop Havertonians from getting out and having a good time and partying and
Drinking beer.
It was drinking beer and
Legally.
Just not at Normandy Park, right?
legal loudspeakers.
Sorry about that.
They're loud. They're loud. But we got to get them out of Normandy Park and move them over to there. So it was a great time, and thank Kelly Music for Life for a great job, and some of the restaurants there that were opened provided some great food. And I want to thank all the volunteers. I was out there early in the morning helping get things set up, and the amount of work that goes into, you just wouldn't even, you got to be there and watch this all the parts of it come together. It's pretty incredible what they do, all these people do, and then you just walk up, listen to music, eat, and go home, and you don't even notice all that transpires. So thanks a lot to all those volunteers who helped a lot. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. And then I will conclude with just saying that the next newsletter will be out the beginning of June, I believe. Yes, it should be the spring-summer edition of the Commissioner's newsletter will be out in the beginning of June. Caracon Drive is open on Sundays. It opened last week, April 30th, and it will go to November 5th. I know the gates, it's 7 a.m. to dusk that it's closed, and pedestrians can use it for recreation, what have you. I know this past Sunday, they were open late. I apologize, but the police force was at Barnaby's because of the fire. But as soon as the officer went down and took care of that. But 7 a.m. to dusk, please feel free and enjoy the day on Caracon Drive. It is a pleasure. We have the Historical Society has their buildings there and what have you. It's a great place to be around.
Can I just add one thing?
You most certainly can.
Well, the fact that the Heritage Festival is there June 5th.
The first?
The 4th. I'm sorry, June 4th.
First Sunday of June.
Yeah. And I just want to remind everybody about Election Day. It is May 16th.
What, do you read my notes?
I'm sorry, no, I was not reading your notes. I was reading my notes. I skipped over
Okay.
it. So, sorry about that.
And not a problem. Okay, and in addition, yes, Tuesday, May 16th is primary election day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So also, there's no trash pickup that day, so anybody has a Tuesday trash pickup, the county transfer stations are closed. The 8th Ward doesn't have to worry about it. Put it out on Monday, pick up on Monday, as opposed to yard waste pickup. Or you actually do that too? Okay, a twofer. Congratulations to Mr. Goldsmith for the library. I want to tell you that, look, my family has used the library for many, many years. My daughters have volunteered there and everything, and there's been many a book that we've taken out that I've read to my kids, and the kids love to be read to. It is a wonderful place. It is the only one that we have here in the community, and I know it serves many other communities. But thank you from all of us, and from me and the Connell family, for all the great work that you do with the library. It's not looked over. I don't know what else to say, but thank you very much for everything that you do. Yes. Then the next time signs on poles. There is a township ordinance that you're not supposed to put signs on poles. I know everybody has garage sales and yard sales, and every time the township kind of looks over that. They're into the community. If the community wants to put up there that you have a yard sale and you put that on the telephone pole or what have you, that's great, but just know that there is an ordinance against it, and a fine can come with it, but please be very respectful. I can't tell you to put it up there, but if you happen to see one up there the day after that there is an event, just remove it, okay? Because sometimes they just stay up there forever, or they blow off, and the next thing you know, they become litter. It's trash. So please be respectful for that ordinance and keep having your garage sales. Last thing is, let's see, the Caracon Drive, the newsletter. The next time this board will meet will be June 5th for our work session at 7 o'clock in this room. Then we will have June 12th, our regular session, which is our voting session. Okay? Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening, and good luck to those on the May 16th primary election day. And I will take...
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
So be it.
Aye.